Elon Musk and the new era of extractive geopolitics. In November 2020, left-wing President Evo Morales returned to Bolivia after being expelled by right-wing opponents with the aid of the United States. The Organization of American States, OAS, which has served as an appendage of U.S. imperial aspirations in South America for decades, conducted an audit of the vote tallies and deemed Bolivia's election of Morales in 2019 illegitimate, forcing him to flee the country. The OAS's assessment of the election aligned with the U.S. government's unofficial position that Morales threatened its regional geopolitical interests. There were problems, however. The statistical analysis used in OAS's 2019 report was flawed, according to the New York Times. Even so, U.S. criticisms emboldened Morales's opposition and led to a chain of events that changed the South American nation's history. The post-Elon Musk and the new era of extractive geopolitics appeared first on counterpunch.org. This content originally appeared on counterpunch.org and was authored by Joshua Frank. On Black Intifada in France. The police racist killing of children is a regular occurrence for decades in France, often triggering burgeoning spontaneous working-class insurgencies. The moments after French police killed 17-years-old Naho M. in the Parisian suburb of Nanterre wasn't any different. 45,000 riot police, including the infamously brutal Brie Special Forces, contributed to the quelling of another uprising in France conducted mostly by young working classes of African heritage in the banlieues, or contained council estates often many miles out of the urban centers. Over 2 nights of the uprising, at least 2,000 insurgents have been arrested by French authorities. The average age of arrestees is 17 years old, pointing to another generation that will see considerable sections of their neighbors experiencing the French criminal justice system in prisons. That will only boost their sense of alienation and confrontation with the French colonial state. Black working-class communities across colonial centers in the West are seeing multiple generations of the same family in prisons at the same time. The average age of the arrestees also indicates how young our children are brutalized by the police in schools. The youth who led the uprising are of African heritage, both northern, Morocco, Algeria and Tunisia, and also other regions like from West Africa and other former colonies of the French state. The uprising saw the insurrectionists use fire bombs, grenades and firearms against the state, indicating a further intensification by means of tactics as compared to previous similar uprisings. There is much to explore as to the significance of the uprising by means of class struggle against capitalist colonialism and for socialism in the colonial center in a context of global victories of white supremacist racism and the far right. To read this article, log in here or subscribe here. If you are logged in but can't read CP Plus articles, check the status of your access here. In order to read CP Plus articles, your web browser must be set to accept cookies. Sukant Chandan is a London-based decolonial anti-imperialist activist and analyst. He advocated justice for Libyans in visiting Libya 3 times during the NATO onslaught in 2011 and reports frequently on English-language news channels based in Russia, Iran, China and Lebanon on which he discusses issues pertaining to the challenges of the struggle to end neo-colonialism. Fijians are fed up. No more coups in modern politics, says Ratuva. Our people are fed up with coups. This is the message from renowned Fijian academic Professor Stephen Ratuva as he reiterated the statement shared by Minister for Home Affairs Pio Tikodwadwa earlier this week. Professor Ratuva, director of Canterbury University's Centre for Pacific Studies in New Zealand, said coups had no place in modern politics and Fiji was no exception. It corrupts and destroys the very principles on which constitutional democracy is built. It is destructive to the economy, disrupts social relationships and well-being and creates a cycle of instability in the long run, he said. A coup is like the COVID epidemic with a long tail and unfortunately, we are still in the shadows of the long tails of the previous coups because the impacts are still with us, even as years pass. Up to a point, people will reach the coup fatigue threshold and Fiji would have reached it long ago, as people are just fed up with coups and simply hearing rumors associated with coups. It is psychologically traumatizing to say the least. Professor Ratuva said the whole nation had collectively been traumatized by the series of coups in the past since 1987 and it was time to put a stop to this scourge. He added that the military, as a professional security institution, was often subjected to external political interests and pressures to serve narrow political and personal ends. Military for nation building. He also commended the Republic of Fiji Military Forces, RFMF, Commander R.O. Joan Kalounawai for his conduct during this time. The military must be an independent institution for national security and nation building, not a tool for illegal state capture by some, Professor Ratuva said. Fiji military commander is a highly educated officer with an internationally reputable status, and his calm and intelligent response to destabilizing rumors gives the nation a sense of assurance and comfort. He and the military will need support by all political parties and citizens generally to maintain stability in these challenging times. Shail Devi is a Fiji Times reporter. Republished with permission. This content originally appeared on Asia Pacific Report and was authored by APR editor.